Oh, okay. There we go. Yep. I should definitely start creating a thumbnail. But either way, starting from the beginning here, people, we are finally in a position, I think, to begin organizing this setting as it needs to be done. Here we have the different labels that I have for things in this setting, which are all under this one specific tab. I have other different settings that I've played with for my group, but this is a very new, very old one. My players have played in it a couple times, but not as a adventure. It was more like they passed through, because you know how Dungeons and Dragons games are. You go through different dimensions, and mine happened to connect to my other settings. Famously, one of our characters has essentially attained godhood. We haven't figured out exactly how he's done it, but he started to pull all of his own selves out of time to do his own bidding, and they're all aligned with the one goal of him surviving everything. So he just pops in when that seems funny for that to be a thing for him. Anyway, this particular setting was my very first foray into tabletop RPGs, dungeon mastering, everything. It was just terrible, but I liked the bones, and the bones are this. This first sentence: Karos is Earth. It's pronounced Aaron, but Aaron, whatever, I don't care, is her first child and the sun. Water is a child of earth and air is the child of fire and earth. So it's all interconnected in that way. And it originally started as an attempt to, how could my young teenage self wrap around the idea of magic in a world in which I live in science? Because my ideas of what science and magic were did not exist in the same realm, as most teenagers like to be angsty about, I guess. In this particular setting, I wanted to eventually find a setting where me and my friends were, okay, we're in the setting, we know this setting, we know these rules, we don't want to change anything else, because we have more fun knowing what's going on without me, the DM, having to explain it to everybody. And then that opens up the possibilities of anybody DMing that one, everyone still being on the same page, but the DM still having their fiat. Because I don't want to, if I'm not DMing, I don't want to be a part of the decision making. So leave me alone. Make up your own crap. So here we are. This is that world. It's taken me 10 years to the year. It's about 6 months off. But no, it's not even about 6 months off. I started actually playing with the group for the first time in 2016, about early 2016. So here we are. And it's only just now come to the point where I think I can cohesively put things together in a package that I can present to players and say, hey, if you know these things, we can all play in this world in any capacity, into our stylings and likings. Because this is not a system, this is a system agnostic setting, and it's a genre agnostic setting, other than the fact that it's got fantasy, fantastical rules that guide it. So take that for what you will. My goal for streaming this is to help myself streamline this process of organizing Karos, a decade-old mess of a setting where I finally have the rules that I want in place, and my friends have proven that they can play with those rules to the depth that I like. They figured out the issue, the conflict with this world based on what I gave them in our last session, which we'll get into maybe at some point later. Suffice to say, this world has its own version of the Force, which it's analogous to the Force in almost every way, other than some details, like physical details, cosmetic details, you would call them in like video games. The cosmetic details of this world. So here we go. This is the beginning of the Karos World Bible organization streaming. And here you see I have work done already, and this is the overall picture. It's taken me forever to get this right. But the biggest thing that we're going to get to, and the reason why this setting is important to me in particular, is... I passed it. Where did it go? Where'd you go? It's not here. Where did it go? Where did I put it? I may have accidentally gotten rid of it some. Oh no, here we go. Magic. See, I overlook everything. See, the will. This is the Force of my setting. The will. I stole the name from George Lucas too. I pretty much stole the whole thing, but on accident. As soon as I realized what I had determined had to exist in my world based on the founding rules, it turned into the will, the Force. It's the will of the universe that is malleable to the way that a Jedi could do it or a Sith could do it, in pretty much every analogous way that you could think of. We played a game in these past few weeks where it worked. It didn't work perfectly. The simulation was off because it's a tabletop RPG, but everyone got the point. As soon as we started playing with it, everyone's like, oh, I can force hammer this gnome fist onto that dragon's skull and punch it into the ground. It's great. It's amazing. Totally worked. Other things they tried didn't work. But this, how magic works, the difference between divine magic, emergent magic, scholarly magic, wizard magic. Scholarly magic is wizard magic. Wizard magic is real world science equivalent. I can see no reason why the guy who creates the machine that creates the microchips that are the CPUs that we use in everyday, I think that's gotta be magic. But we understand it, we can do it, we can replicate it. So it's definitely using the foundational rules of the universe to invoke our will upon it. That's magic. We just happen to know how to do it, so we can call it science. Well, if you want artificers, you need science. You need replicatable magic, and that's how you get that from science. And that's what scholarly magic is, that's what wizard magic is, that's what Dungeon Scholar is all about. We are scholars of this universe, and I've already made my first discoveries in it. And this is where it starts to get crazy. Like you shouldn't be playing Dungeons and Dragons like this mode. But here we go. It's the math of it all. See, this is how I determined we're going to move forward in discovering this universe. We will be a wizard dissecting this universe to figure out the limits of what we can know and what we can't know. And thus I can tell my players. And then my players can also do the same thing. Because this one thing here, this magic, emergent magic, is the magic that we send through a black box and it pops out what we want. It's the magic where, okay, all these druids, they know this magic. They use these rules, but I, as a wizard, it doesn't work for me. I follow their rules, and it works as they use it, but then I try to replicate it on the examination level, and it doesn't work. There's something there. I haven't figured that part out yet, but that's the difference. And then the divine magic is gods, warlocks, whatever. They control the magic. That's pretty simple to figure out. You take away them, you lose your magic. Unless you finagle some way, you can believe that you still have the magic, even though you've abandoned that god who controls that magic. Whatever. We're not going to go there. So, starting from the beginning so we can get to where the unit circle of real life can make real magic in the game. Starts off from the very beginning, which is this. The cosmology. It's a different cosmology than standard Dungeons and Dragons. It's based on the 4 classical elements, not including spirit, for a particular reason that we'll get into. So Earth was first, and Earth is personified. Earth is a being. She is a thing. I've made it a she. That randomly started there so we could go off from somewhere, create conflict. So Earth turned into a she, started off simple. Everyone kind of gets Mother Earth, didn't want to change that easy thing people in this culture understand already. So in my culture. So we get it. Second was fire because Earth was lonely, became insular, retracted into herself. Earth moving into itself creates heat and pressure, and then thus fire was born inside Earth and then ejected himself out to save the melting of his mother. To say he grew to a certain size and then escaped, and as he escaped, the bits and pieces that flung off of him were stuck in the space between, and those are their first children, but they did not coalesce until much later. Between them is a standard difficult relationship: mother, first child, eldest, favorite, I guess you could call them, whatever. That's whatever you need to justify that relationship. That's what that is. Third to come was air, and it was in secret, and air has yet to speak, and I don't know what to label air other than air is air, because air doesn't speak, and air is the nefarious bad guy of the entire setting, because air knows what's going on and doesn't like the choices of those around him or her, and so secretly maneuvering them to do their own bidding. That's the central conflict. And I don't know how you can get rid of air without killing everything, because it's air. You kind of need air. Well, air was secretly created, and because when you're looking, if you look down at Earth from the perspective of the sun, you don't see a sky. You just see Earth until you see a cloud go over. So fire did not know Earth or air existed. Earth knew air existed because she could see the wondrous blue that air was. And then how whatever happens between Earth and air creates water, which creates clouds, which fire notices, and then the sudden betrayal of the whole relationship status of the 4 founders of this universe begins. Fire feels betrayed and hurt for Earth lying to him, not telling him about air, and then suddenly not keeping water away due to his wrath. Blah, blah, blah. Water just feels betrayed by both of them because they're all related and they should be family, but blah, blah, blah. So water has a very difficult relationship with everyone. But mostly that's an inside joke. The inside joke is water, the molecule, is bipolar, and I wanted to play with that because it's funny. So water's bipolar, and that's the justification for it. Those kinds of things is the basis of this universe of real world analogous jokes, realisms, logic, quote unquote, coherency can be applied to this universe, and that was the beginning. That is the beginning. So that's the four founder gods, and from there life is created, and the adventure of the universe begins. And the difference between this world and our world is purposefully inverted and paradoxical and contradictory, yet the same. That was my beginning choice when making the decisions of how things would work in this world. For example, Earth is a flat disk, a thick flat disk like a pancake, an American pancake, but flat disk nonetheless. And due to my recent decision of how magic really works, or at least wizard magic really works, it's a perfectly flat disk, mathematically proven perfectly flat disk, and extrapolations can be made from there. Which is why this becomes important to the magic of the world, because if you can prove these things, you can show things that exist that you can't see or feel or touch. Which, that's kind of like magic. Like magnets. How do they work, man? Magic. The surface that people walk on originally was a continuous flat space with no water on the surface other than it raining. And then the first creations of the three founder beings, fire, or earth, fire, and water, not air. Air did not create anything other than asterisks, other things that they created later, which will be expounded upon in other places, but irrelevant now because everything else is made up of those three elements. Technically still four, because air is the one with the knowledge of creating life in this way, which is why air knows what's up about everything. But we'll get too much. Stop. That's the end. It's the reason why I was able to start this now. Figured it out finally. The conflicts of that, the first creations of naive gods are of course terrible and awful and ruin the idea of what they originally had. So the second creations are much better, much more refined, and of course much more humanoid looking, because gotta have something to start relating to. The first creations were called the Abdomic. It's a misspelling of abomination in my rush of typing on my phone that one time, and I thought it looked cool, so we kept it. So the Abdomic are the first abominations, and they were wiped out by the Primordials. The Primordials are the 3 Illuvium, the 6 Ardor, and the 12 Bounetian. And the Ardor came first. They're fire. They are the first creations, the first lord, the first lady, the first flame, the blah blah blah, the high and mighty, the I want to take credit for doing all this greatness, and blah blah blah. And they are indeed the ones who ended the war because of their ruthlessness of it. But all of the primordials were needed to craft the world that was needed to defeat the Abdomic, which ended in what's called Gorl's Leap. I needed some fantastical, high fantasy, epic fantasy way to explain a moon. So I just decided a guy leapt and made a pact with air however he figured out air existed, and made a pact with him, and just got stuck there and pulled up and forever changed the entire landscape of the universe with it. The crouching down for the mighty leap pushed the universe down and created a bowl which jutted up the ring into mountains, which, as the dude leapt into the air, pulled the ground with him and yanked up all the rock needed to make the moon, and then formed the great mountain in the middle of the world, which I finally calculated after a few years ago, and it's in here somewhere, so we'll get to that. The important part is he made the moon, and then that separation of the leap, the such perfect even force, the separation creates all the basis of everything from there on, because the ring world mountain the mountain is created, so the inner world has become the material world. The outer world has become an outer realm of the Feywild. The entire surface portion of the outside is indeed the Feywild, because it goes on an infinite way from this one central point. Makes sense to me. Drawing it would be better, but I don't have the drawings on me yet. We'll make the drawings on the stream, because that's what we need. We're here to create the map of the universe, the place in which the players will play, and which I will understand as a wizard exploring this place. And I've already found the first one. The separation between the inner world and the outer world is a perfect spherical volume and a perfect circle separating the Feywild and the inner world at the outer edge of the ring mountain. It is impossible to walk over the mountain to get to the Feywild, because the mountain will just keep going forever as you descend the other side. It just forever just keeps going, and you don't notice it. But you can make your way back up and out. It's not even inversely proportional. As soon as you make your way back out, it does not take long. It's like maybe a day or two. But that boundary between the two places is invisible, non-tangible in any way, shape, or form to the basic senses of anything in the world. So a wizard has to figure out, how do I get to the Feywild, because I know it exists, because elves are here and they live in the Feywild, and they can get through here from druid magic or other forms of magic. So the wizard has to figure that part out. And I ran across how they figured out that the boundary is there, and they can calculate the boundary and figure out exactly where it is so they can hop over. But once you know where it's at, you can just leap over. And they can figure out not just where that boundary is, but where the boundary is between all the different planes. Because they found the perfect circular ring via math around that is the inner world. And they would, of course, have to have their own proofs and experiments to show that indeed there is this world is perfectly circular. So first we got to start in real life, which is where we are now. We are starting with, how do we prove that something is a perfect circle? Well, if you can mathematically prove that it's a perfect circle. And I think I kind of did that with something over here. Which can prove that you can calculate a perfect circle being analogous. I got the idea from 3 Blue 1 Brown's video on pi squared over 6, figuring that out and visualizing it, visual proof of it, so you can comprehend it and understand it and see exactly what it's trying to tell you. And my conclusion, to point that in a fantastical way, is, I can use that as a proof to prove that something is mathematically perfect by just doing the lighthouse thing in real life as a wizard. So they would do that stuff, kind of thing, to prove the experiment. So that is what I've written down to put on one of these sheets of parchment paper to hang up on the wall. So when my players are looking around, they're like, oh, I can use these ideas to make a spell. Because once you get to the quantum level, quantum physics of these kinds of things, you can see where you can break the rules of this simulation. Because the game simulation world is not as detailed as the real world, so we can make those generalizations. That was the piece of puzzle that I needed for putting this together. I feel like I am a wizard now in this universe. Despite me knowing the complete historical, real basis of what this world is, I can figure out the rules in which those things use in this universe to make their own things. Which I think is kind of cool. That's why we're scholars here, people. We're here to learn about this world, discover it, as the mighty wizards of our past have. And apparently it starts with Euclid, Archimedes, and geometry, because this place is a flat disk and it's a perfect flat disk, which gives me magical inclinations because nothing is perfect, not even in this world. But they found the perfect barrier, and as far as I know, there are other perfect infinite like barriers in math that can be used in the real world. The other one being this one, the golden ratio. That's a mathematical proof that I can pull into this world for them to have fun with, and the analogies we can make in real life can easily be translated into this world perfectly. That's the point. I want everybody to be okay. This works here in this way. There's no way this couldn't work in this fantasy world because it's numbers. This is how the numbers work. Can't change numbers in any way that I know, that other than you're just purposely making it obtuse, which is not the point here. So I think I've rambled on for the past 30 minutes. Fine and well. We'll be getting into this a lot more. And hopefully having more outside input, because that's what I really want to do. That's what we're here to do, is get outside input to making these things more interesting for the players. Because I have my world. Now I need others to play in it. And my friends have proven they can play in it and they want to play in it. They were Jedi for a session. It was great. And at the end of the session, they revealed to themselves the whole crux of this universe's problems. Air is stealing all the souls and sequestering them away, and that created the Force. And now they use that Force, but it doesn't deplete it, it just uses it. And people want to kill Air. Air doesn't want people to use this thing. They're in the stuck between it, so they got to figure out what we're going to do about it. And from there, I've generated how there's a hell, how there's devils, how there's all these things that players want to do in a Dungeons & Dragons game or any other tabletop game. We can still have them. The stars are the gods. There's a divine war of law and chaos between the stars. The stars move to represent the forces of these changes, which gives credence to divine wizards and other divinity-powered things so they can read the stars and celestial bodies to gain glimpses of the future and past and present. See, it all connects. I'm a crazy madman finally getting this all out into one thing for people to understand. I don't care how long it takes. It's taken me 10 years to get to the point of starting. It's totally worth it. 100% worth it. So here we go.